Before we get started, this is my good friend Adam. He is a puppeteer and an exceptionally talented puppet builder and content creator and artist, and just ask anyone he comes in contact with. He's just this bundle of joy and creative energy, and I admire the heck out of him. You might even say that this channel wouldn't quite be the same if it weren't for him. Adam was diagnosed with brain cancer. Since then, he's been constantly in and out of the hospital, surgeries, tests, chemo, and every day I genuinely marvel at how he handles it all, how he stays so positive. He's just an incredibly strong person. Of course, all of this treatment is very, very expensive, so I'm putting a link to his GoFundMe down in the description of this video and in a pinned comment. If you can spare to help, it would be humongously appreciated. Thank you. And Adam, if you're watching this, stay strong, buddy. We're all rooting for you. And, hello again, my friends. I just got done putting together the video I did for the latest Pokemon Presents. It was a good showing, lots of updates for pre-existing games. We had the pleasantly surprising announcement of Pokemon TCG Pocket, which I think is pretty darn cool. But the big surprise of the show was the announcement of Pokemon Legends ZA, and this was indeed quite a surprise, giving us a Pokemon Z many, many years after the fact, after Pokemon X and Y, and in the form of a Legends game. It's very cool, it's very clever, but whatever, I went over all that in the other video. But this video is about what is perhaps the most surprising part of this entire thing. Perhaps the most surprising is not the fact that we're getting Pokemon Z, that we're getting another Legends game. It's that it's not coming out this year. I know. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I'm just as shocked as you probably were. The entire world was shocked. What? We're not getting a Pokemon game this year, at the end of the year? But there has to be a large piece of Pokemon content at the end of every year. Every Christmas season needs a Pokemon game, or else the foundation of the world starts to break apart. Fish start flying out of the ocean. Pigs are flying all over the place. And the shareholders for the Pokemon Company are just, oh, so sad. It's the apocalypse and the shareholders get all grumpy. No, it is very, very surprising that it's coming next year. And there's just kind of nothing this year. And, I mean, obviously, like, they could technically announce some other thing between here and then. It just doesn't really seem likely. There's no real reason to believe that. I mean, you really can't, you can never say never. You know, and the fact that they at one time gave us Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl and then Arceus a couple months later means, okay, yeah, technically maybe, yeah. If they do another, like, super duper cheap, low effort remake like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, they could reveal it in June and still give it to us in November. I don't know. Whatever the case, though, I don't think so. At least for now, let's assume no, because why would they announce a thing that's coming out next year and then later announce a thing that's coming out this year? Doesn't really make sense. Let's assume that the next major Pokemon release is going to be Pokemon Legends ZA in 2025. And I think it is funny. I mean, people generally want games to come out. You know, the sooner it comes out, the happier we are. But it says so much about the Pokemon Company. I've never in my whole life, this is a very new experience, I have never seen a game being announced for next year and everyone is happy. Everyone is like, thank you. Thank you. We are so happy that we will not be playing this game this year. I mean, like, it's got to be the only case ever. It's got to be the only company in existence where people are begging them to please delay the games. Make them less often. It's like, Pokemon is cool, but it's so frustrating that you keep messing this up. You keep pushing out these unfinished games. It's like, can we just sacrifice, like, one game to make all the other ones better? That's gotta be new, right? I don't know, maybe like Assassin's Creed at one point was coming out every year. I guess there were probably some people there that are like, just slow down. Just slow down. I don't even want to be playing this every year. You get major fatigue, especially with Pokemon. You know, you get into a Pokemon game, you can play it for 100 hours easy. So, like, yeah, like, just, we got other stuff to play. And we're all very, very thankful that it's not coming out this year. But we have to wonder, though. I have to wonder. I have to look at everything and I see the hidden meanings and I have to wonder, why though? Why though? Why isn't it coming out this year? Pokemon Scarlet and Violet showed that it does not matter how unfinished a game is. It does not matter if it barely runs. It doesn't matter if it's an embarrassment. You push it out. It has to meet the deadline. It has to be out before Christmas. It absolutely has to. Cannot be delayed no matter what. So a lot of us are asking ourselves, is this a sign of good things? Is this a sign that the Pokemon Company, they released those games so quickly? It was Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, it was Arceus, and then it was Scarlet and Violet, all so rapidly. And like, sure, they all sold great, but like, it still was embarrassing. You know, there was still a humongous amount of backlash, a lot of people losing faith in the company, and I know it doesn't really affect their bottom line or whatever, but it is possible. It is a company run by human beings. It is possible that those humans went, okay, I think we have reached a limit. I feel like we've reached a breaking point here where we really can't push any further, because I mean, like, even other companies, even Ubisoft, they're evil as heck, and yet even they were like, okay, Assassin's Creed every year. It's just, okay, it's a bit much. Let's pull in the reins just a little bit. It could just be that the Pokemon Company finally reached that point where like Scarlet and Violet were just so unfinished, they were like, that was it. That was the one. We got it out of our system. Let's pull it back just a smidge. It could be that they genuinely want to give this game the time that it needs, and maybe this even means that moving forward, more of their games will get the time that they need. I mean, because missing the very lucrative holiday spot, like, that's a big deal. And, you know, it's coming in 2025. We don't know exactly when in 2025. And I don't know if they, I don't know how many teams they have internally working on these games at any given time. I don't know if they started on this game right when Scarlet and Violet wrapped up, or if they had been working on it up until that point. We really don't know, but we do know that they had the foundation of Legends Arceus to work with first. So, you know, even if they didn't start working on the game until they wrapped Scarlet and Violet, when the base game released, that means that by the time this game comes out, that could be 2.5 years to develop the title. I don't know how many people were working on the DLC for Scarlet and Violet, but about 2.5 years when they already had the foundation, that's pretty good. That's really not bad in the AAA space. That's like basically the blink of an eye, but like, but for Pokemon, that's pretty good. So it's like, do you think that at one point maybe it was going to come out in 2024, but they were like, no, we need to do better this time. This is going to be the biggest, coolest Pokemon game ever, and it just needs more time. Either that, or like, even by their own standards, they were like, yeah, it's not going to be done by then. We no matter what, we're going to have to delay it a little bit. So they just aimed for 2025. I don't know. So yeah, it is possible. It is very possible that this is the Pokemon Company turning over a new leaf, even if not like all the way. You know, I don't anticipate that suddenly we're going to only start getting Pokemon games every 5 years or whatever. Like, that's not going to happen. It's probably still going to mostly be yearly-ish, you know? I mean, like, gosh, even every other year would be pretty great. But like, yeah, it is possible that this is a good sign of things to come. However, I can't help but see this from a slightly different angle. Like, I hope that that's the case. I definitely do. It's just that there is another possibility, and I cannot help but examine it. I can't help it. And it's not nearly as positive, because if this other possibility is true, then that means that this might not actually mean anything. It might not mean anything for the Pokemon Company and how quickly they want to put out games and how much time they're going to spend on those games. Here's what I'm thinking. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure plenty of people have come to this conclusion too. It's just whatever. Let's talk about it. What is the big Nintendo rumor that's been going around recently? You know, and it's one of those rumors that I don't really just believe is a rumor. It's been corroborated by so many different sources. It all lines up. It's 99.99% sure it is true. It's a real thing. It's that the Switch 2, or whatever it'll be called, was coming in 2024, but now it has been delayed into early 2025. That means that at one time, there was a plan to put out a new Switch system this upcoming holiday season. There was a solid plan to do that, but all of that had to be delayed into early 2025. And now we have the Pokemon Company, who has a rock solid record of putting out Pokemon games during the holidays, or at least, DLC or whatever. A large piece of Pokemon content every holiday. Suddenly, they have broken tradition. They have, against all odds, announced a Pokemon game for next year instead. And to me, I do not believe necessarily that it is simply a coincidence. To me, I mean, come on, like, this is the year. This is the year they choose to unexpectedly not release a Pokemon game this holiday, and instead, next year, come on. It lines up so perfectly. That to me says that they were probably gonna do it, but then when the Switch 2 got delayed, they had to delay this game too, because this game is going to be on the Switch 2. It makes all the sense in the world. It absolutely does. And like, having a Pokemon game ready for the launch of the new system, oh my gosh, that is gonna sell systems like crazy. Nintendo would want that very, very much. However, I also think this is probably going to be a cross-gen title. Because as I said in my video about the whole delay rumor and stuff, if there are any cross-gen games, they're not going to want to release the game on the previous system long before the next system releases, which means that any cross-gen games that were going to come out at the end of this year are going to be pushed to meet the launch of the new system. They don't want people buying the thing on the old system. They're trying to, it's cross-gen because they want to utilize the big install base of the first system to make a good amount of money, but they also really want to push people to play the game on the new system. That's why often the release on the old system comes later. They want people buying the new one. So they're definitely not going to give us a new Pokemon game at the end of this year and then give us the Switch 2 version months later in 2025. No, they're going to just delay the entire thing. So that to me makes sense. And again, it would be a bit of a shame because it would mean that there's a chance that this means nothing. This means nothing for Pokemon Company and their release schedule. But I don't know. It could also mean both. It could be both. It could be they have kind of learned their lesson. It could be they are going to slow things down a little bit, especially if they're going to start making games for the Switch 2, higher graphical capabilities and all that stuff. The games are going to take a little bit more effort to make. They might have to slow down. They might just absolutely have to. But we don't know. We don't actually know what this means. Ultimately, it's just the release date of a game. And that's it. We kind of just gotta wait and see what happens. Am I crazy? What do you make of all of this release date tomfoolery? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.